The San Diego Prep Insiders Basketball Podcast is powered by Jersey Mike's. Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
Hey, sports fans. Christian Pedersen, Aaron Bergen.
What's up?
Francis Parker, Otay Ranch, the Bishop School, and Christian. Just had to properly introduce the 4 teams that are left because we are into our Division II semifinals for boys basketball here in San Diego. Tommy Morris also is joining us via remote picks because his takes get a little too hot for all of us to be in the same room at once. Aaron, I've got a very, very, very serious question for you.
Yes, sir.
Did you bring your big boy analyst pants today?
I tried to.
Okay, because we've got some big boy basketball to talk about right now. Let's get straight to it. A very, let's call it, underseeded Francis Parker team. Underseeded is going to take on an Otay Ranch team that maybe also is underseeded. I don't know. That's why we have you here to help analyze and break this all down for us.
So we've gotten the obvious out of the way about Francis Parker. Otay Ranch, great job. Overtime win in a hostile environment at Westview. I mean, that's one of the better wins you'll see all year. But again, we've been talking about Otay having some of these better wins you'll see all year ever since the first game of the season. Yep. So credit to them for getting to this point. And they get to host a home game this deep in the playoffs. As a 5 seed, you love that. I mean, that's what you live for. You get an opportunity to have a team travel down to your place, get the crowd rocking. But I still got to pick Francis Parker in this one as a 9 seed. This was a top 3 seed team that didn't start playing games until December 26th because, they knew that they weren't going to have their guys, so they scheduled their season just so they had enough preseason games to get the other guys ready to go. And then, once they got their guys in, and then they were handed a gift in Chemo Ferrari. And from what I was told, the game against Montgomery, Chemo Ferrari was the star of that game. Really did a good job on Timmy Crawford. And handled the offense and got guys into their places and set the table for guys like Max Gwynn and Matt Bender. And obviously, I think Matt Bender is going to be the big difference in this game. Otay can play physical, but they are undersized. And I think that, again, having a doorstop in the middle like Matt Bender really does make things difficult. So I'm picking Francis Parker with the road win. I think it'll be, close early, but I think eventually they'll just kind of wear down Otay Ranch and win, by about 10 points.
Tommy Morris is in agreement with you saying Parker. I will also agree. I think that this does a really interesting job of kind of busting up the concept of having to even really play your regular season, play your non-league, play anything. Like you just got to make sure that all of your players that you need in your rotation are healthy more than anything else. Is that it was transfer rules and sit-outs, and it was healthiness and
they just needed to win enough games to get into the field. I mean, I think if they would have been 13 or 12, that they still would have been at this point. I mean.
Yeah, the only game that I look up at this bracket and go, ooh, would be if they played Christian in the first round or if they played Bishops in the first round. Like literally one of these semifinals games in the first round, and they would have had to have been a very low seeded, like a 13 or a 14 to go ahead and do that. So you look at this and you go, oh, sheesh, like this could borderline be a D1 playoff team with the kind of talent that they have. So
I don't think it's borderline.
The only thing borderline about all this is the fact that my MacBook keeps going to sleep with our graphics on it. Yep. Francis Parker going to come in and everyone's going to look at this and go, wow, a 9 seed in the finals, what's going on? And you're like, well, not really. Yeah. You're going to just be like a team that wasn't built at the beginning of the season in the finals, a team that literally had the transfers still coming at the start of the season. And you could scratch at that itch all day and night and say public versus private, transfers versus non-transfers. But the reality is they're just playing good basketball because finally we're seeing what this team actually is. We're not guesstimating that, when Bender comes back or when this happens or when that happens, this is how they will look. We're finally seeing how they look, and they are a dominant basketball team that covers it on all fronts. So clean sweep on that side of the bracket. Onto the other side of the bracket, there is literally no winning here for any of us. I just want to throw that out there that on one side of this Bishops Christian game, is family and blood, and there's Bishop's relations for me, and I also don't like them from going to La Jolla, and Tommy Morris is a Country Day alum, so there's rivalry there, and not that we're scared of Davion Famer, but he's the homie, and so, we like to appease. All right, so let's just do this. Let's insult who we have to insult. Let's upset who we have to upset, and let's pick a winner.
Okay. I'm going with Christian. I think the home environment is what separates the two teams.
Okay.
There is also a little bit of health concern on Christian's end, though. Nashon Carter injured his knee in the Oceanside game. So I'm qualifying this by saying that he'll be back, ready to go for Wednesday. And again, we talked about in the Oceanside game, front courts virtually cancel each other out. So if it's a game of the point guards, in the Bishops matchup, you have to go with a healthy Nashon Carter. Merrick Thompson, Zach White, they've had some good moments. They've also been really inconsistent. Turn the ball over against pressure at times. My ties to both teams are obvious. I mean, Christian Rose is a kid I've seen, play since he was a seventh grader. I know his family really well. Nikyle Cross, same thing. I've seen a lot of these kids grow up, and a lot of them have, heard me pontificate about their abilities for years. So, as these, playoff brackets, attrition to this point, these picks get tougher and tougher and tougher. But again, I think it's the home environment and Nashon Carter that puts him over the top.
Tommy Morris says Bishops is his team. He likes the size and the versatility that Bishops offers. And I think that, like you said, it's one of those where maybe they cancel each other out, maybe they don't. Is everybody healthy? Isn't everybody healthy? Or if you believe Twitter, James Shannon is going to potentially prevent Moses Moody from being there because they're going to go play Minecraft together or something like that.
Minecraft, what are you, freaking 12?
Hey, I'll say this, man. Moses Moody is one of the best Minecraft players in San Diego. Just jump over to all of our football coverage. That was an ongoing plot all season long about who was better, him or Kyle Phillips from San Marcos. So, it's the real deal. He might sit out the playoffs in favor of going to mine gold and silver to build whatever they build in that game. What's wrong with him? Nothing. He's got a D1 scholarship to play football. There ain't nothing wrong there. I will say this, though. I think it's really interesting that you're saying that the home crowd is going to determine it because these are both very small schools. Mm-hmm. So that's a really interesting thing to kind of key in on. I think that more than anything for me, it's just going to be whoever gets that first run in the game because sometimes you'll have a team that is just that slow and steady. Sometimes you'll have a team that's, able to, we're a second half team where what I've seen out of both of these teams is that they will both the team that leads first is the team that usually wins out of both of these. So I'm going to say that Christian will, because they are playing at home, feed off that energy and maybe get that win, maybe not. Who knows? But I will say that the coin that I flipped 10 times came up Christian more than Bishops. So I will go with Christian getting the win. Mm-hmm. But I will say this. If Nashon Carter isn't in, it's going to be much, much more difficult and much, much more shocking when we're talking about them in the finals. But the way I see it, Parker, Christian, an all-private school field for this one.
I see it the same way.
So these games are going down on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Then the finals are going down at some point later in the week.
Saturday at 8 o'clock, San Marcos High School.
AM or PM?
PM.
Ah, good. I was really concerned you were about to say AM there. I was just going to be like, I'm not trying to do that. No. We'll be back next round for a finals podcast when either all of us are wrong and it's just Tommy Morris here, or none of us are wrong, or we finally get some brackets that stay up and our technology is fixed in this studio. Aaron, you ready for this? No. I don't think either of us are emotionally ready to handle Wednesday. So we will say goodbye and we'll say hit him up on Twitter at FulltimeHoops1. I'm at Mr. CPED. Tommy's at Real Tommy Morris. We'll see you for the finals.